Hi, my name is Robert. This video is designed to give you step-by-step detailed instructions on completing the task at hand. Please read the comments in the About section of this video. It has valuable information and updates. My YouTube channel has a disclaimer video that I encourage you to watch. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you found what you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. I'm here with my wife's HP computer. A little bit older computer. Pavilion DV, I don't know. I'll figure it out, put it in the comments. Anyway, about 2 months ago, the computer, the display lost a color. It was like all of a certain color went invisible and it would see through to a blue screen. Then it started rebooting, then it had problems booting, then it was blacking out, then it was locking up and freezing. Anyway, in this video I'm going to show you how to take it apart. Most common problem is that the motherboard has soldering issues, and baking them in the oven for 3.5 minutes or something like that, or it's in the, I'll mention it when I do it, floats all the solder. I did it. It worked great for 3 or 4 days. Now it's acting up again, so I'm gonna do it again. So hope this video helps. If you have any questions, me or somebody else will likely be able to answer them. The tools I use is the you can use one of these accessory screwdriver kits, cross tip, and then very fine cross tip, a little flat tip to help pry the box apart. Be nice to have a screw pattern paper. You should be able to see a link to that in my comments, and a magnet to magnetize the tip of your screwdrivers. If your computer has the remote, you want to eject it, push it in, pull the remote out, get that out of the machine. Next, you want to remove the battery. You slide this all the way over, take the battery up and out of the way. There are screws under there you need to get loose. Next, you remove the hard drive access panel. You unscrew these screws until you hear them clicking. Once they're clicking, you grab the panel from the battery side, just lift it up, pop it out of the way. Next, you remove the secondary hard drive panel. You got a screw here, a screw here, a screw here. Again, those screws come loose. Once they come loose, you just pry this up and slide it out that way. It's got a couple of tabs on the sides that kind of clip in place. I think you heard it snap. But just take the screws loose till you feel them popping. They don't come all the way out. When you're taking all the screws out of the bottom, be careful you don't miss this one here, this one here, this one here, and that one there. It's easy to miss those screws that's down in those holes. Next, you want to remove the hard drive. You grab this here, lift this up, slide this back out, and then grab that cord and unplug it from the hard drive. It just pulls loose. Next, you want to remove both RAM chips. They have little spring-loaded things on them. You pop those spring-loaded things out, and the RAM chip pops up like that. Then you just lift it up to unplug it, get the next one out. It's a lot of screws you got to take loose from the bottom, so I make a pattern of the bottom, of the top side, of the motherboard, of any heat sink or anything else, and I use this so that I can keep track of my screws. The only 2 screws I don't have on there is the 2 that's holding that antenna on there, and then I got the 2 wires black and gray. So I'm getting ready to take the 2 screws out of here and lift that chip up and out of the way and unplug this black and gray wire. So you got to remember where those went, so when you put all this stuff back together, you put it back together in the right place. So you got to take all these screws out. And like I said, I normally magnetize my screwdriver, my little cross tip, so that I can pick those screws up and out of the case. And when you put all these screws back, just snug them down. If you tighten them too tight, you'll probably break one of the castings. So just snug them down. After you get all the screws out, go ahead and grab the CD drive like that, pull it out, set it aside. The thing you have to do is take this control board loose. You don't want to remove it all the way because it has a couple ribbons attached to it, and it also you can access the screws for the keyboard once you take this loose. So we're going to pop it loose and shift it up toward the monitor just a little bit, enough to get at those screws for the keyboard. The best way to get this loose is just get your fingernails or something back in there and start prying it up. You can also pry it up this way and break it loose all the way across, and then you can shift it back a little bit. It's a little tricky, so you got to be careful you don't do any damage here, but you pivot this up and back, and then you see the 4 screws for the keyboard. Don't try to move this totally out of the way because you'll mess up the ribbons. You got a screw there, a screw there, a screw there, and a screw there. Take those 4 screws out, lift the keyboard up and over, and then undo the ribbon. Next thing I'm going to do is unlatch the cable for the keyboard. You have to put your nail or something up there, flip this latch up, slide the ribbon out that way, then you can lift the keyboard up and away from the computer. Next I'm going to remove the control panel here. I got to unplug this ribbon there, unplug this ribbon here, and then just lift this up and out of the way. Move the speaker bar. Basically what you do is unplug this connection right there, pull it out that way, and then just lift the speaker bar up and out of the way. Next I'm going to take the monitor off. I'm going to unplug this cable here. I'm going to take it out from around there. I'm going to pull these 2 wires up that's going along here, unthread them from there, lift that up, and I'm going to remove the 2 screws under there. Take them loose first, and then take them out in a couple of minutes after you get this loose. Then I'm going to unplug the cable to the monitor here. You pull this tab up, you unplug the monitor from the motherboard, lift that cable up, and there's 2 screws under here. So you got 2 screws here, 2 screws here, unleash the cables, and then lift that monitor up and out of the way. Next I'm going to take this little metal strip off here. I got a screw here, a screw here, a screw here, a screw here, and 2 screws on the end. When you put those back in, just snug them down. They don't have to be real tight. Next thing I'm going to do is unplug this ribbon here and work these clips out from around here and separate this top palm rest pad from the bottom of the computer. It's just kind of snapped together. So you start pulling it apart, get you a little penknife in there and pry it around, working it apart. But do make sure you take this ribbon out first, unplug it, and then you should be able to separate that. Next thing I'm going to do is remove this little screw right here, remove that screw right there, remove that flat silver screw there, and remove this screw down here. I'm going to pull this ribbon out, kind of make a mental note of how far that's pushed in, so when you go to plug it back in, you get it in right. I'm going to do the same for that ribbon there, unplug it, and I'm going to unplug that connection there. And after I get those screws and ribbons unplugged, I can lift this board up, hinge it up this way, and pull it out that way. Side, I got a couple pieces of tape, piece of tape here, piece of tape here. Take both of those off. Probably take a picture of where all your tape is. I got tape here, big piece of tape here, tape over the battery. I got this hard drive plugged there. I got a piece of tape up here and a piece of tape over here where the RAM goes. So I took out the processor from there. I unplugged this thing from this board over here, and I took the heat shrink off. Oven set at 350. It is preheated. I'm going to take the motherboard, set it in there, and set a 3-minute timer. And when the timer goes off, I'll pull the motherboard out, set it back up here to cool off. I have the motherboard in the oven. When it gets to 0, I'm going to take it out, let it cool down to touch, and then reinstall it in the computer, reverse from how I took it all apart. Okay, gave it 5-10 minutes, about 10 minutes to cool down. Time to put everything back together, put all the tape on it, the battery in, processor in, and just reverse the removal process. Sink back on. Make sure you put some fresh thermal grease on that processor, or else it'll try to overheat. Scrape the old stuff off carefully with something plastic. Try not to get your fingerprints on it. Put you some fresh thermal grease on there. See, it says thermal compound. And when you put this hard drive back in, you got to remember these 2 tabs here tuck under this frame. So you'll tuck it under there and just set it down. The hard drive's back in place. This panel back on, you'll notice it's got a couple of tabs here. You want to hook those in first and then press the rest of it down and then screw the screws in. Same for this one over here. It's got a couple tabs there. You want to tuck that in over the hard drive and then push it down. After you get the computer back together, you will more than likely have to plug it into the wall to get it to power up. Then, since you had the battery off of the motherboard, it'll give you some warning about CMOS. You'll have to work through that stuff. I have the computer together. Let's see if it works. Power board works. Anything going to come up on the screen? Hey, we got something on the screen. CMOS reset. Invalid. So I think we need to hit like F2 or something like that, or F10 when it reboots. Let's see if it goes into CMOS. I'll show you how to reset that setting on CMOS. I hit F10 and it's trying to go in. Anyway, so see with our date 2009, I need to reset that CMOS, but as you can see the computer's working. Let me restart it and go into the CMOS. I doubt if this works, but let me set the date and time here, see if that fixes it. Reset the time there. I'm going to shut the computer down and then power it back up and see if it gives me another CMOS warning. I upgraded this computer to a SSD drive, so it'll shut down and boot up really quick, so no problem with us checking it out here. Also want to let you know that my wireless adapter had stopped working. See, it's already off. Let's power it up, see what happens. Powering up. Well, it's going right to Windows, so may be good to go. If you got any questions, post them below. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.